and welcome to the Powdered Donut. It's Miss Fee, and I am so honored to be here this evening with so many things going on in the world, like always. I have with me, we call her Yaya Sunshine on Facebook, with Shauna Kennebrew. We know her from just older, with your siblings. I know your sister, your brother, and I'd like to welcome you to the show this evening. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, good, good. I am so honored for you to be here, and in such a short time, you were able to do this with me, and hopefully we can reach out to some people, and make somebody aware of what something going on. Grief is really, really a topic that's not touched on, and I know you also have experience with your profession that you do. I'm sure you see it a lot, you know, and you have to deal with it with people. Also dealing with it on your own with your son passing. And like I said, I'm so thankful and just I'm so glad that you're able to even sit here and discuss this. In other words, because I know some people, it's just not there, and I get it. So let's get to it. Let's see. So the definition. I'm gonna start out with the definition of grief first of all, so everybody will understand what we touching on here. Grief is a personal experience of your thoughts and feelings. I know a lot of people probably hear grief and just the first thing you think about when you hear grief is somebody grieving over somebody's death. Or that's it is that, but grief is a lot. Grief is a lot more than that. People deal with grief, might not have lost a loved one close to them, but grief is there. Grief is a daily thing, and it's not good to go through. I can say that I've lost my grandparents, and my I was telling somebody the other day, my grandmother, my mom's mother and my dad's mother, both of them, because I had both girls. I wish I had them now instead of when I was a kid. I was telling my cousin, I said, man, I wish granny and grandma was here now versus, I need them as adults, and so me being 48, I still grieve like the day it happened. It's just something that's in me, I sit back and I say, you have to push through. You just got to keep pushing through because I just keep hearing, that TikTok where that you'll hear somebody saying, they mama or they granny or somebody saying, get up, you gotta push through, and that's for real. Because on days when you think, you thinking you will hear the person that you're grieving about, you can almost hear them telling you, get up, you still got to do this. You can hear that.
Yeah.
And I hear that so much right now. And like I say, my parents are both transitioning at the same time. And if I tell you I just wanna call my grandma so bad, what do I do with y'all kids? It's there with me. So I do know, I do. I had my older brother, when I was 9, he was 15, he committed suicide. So that right there, being a little kid, I saw the grief. I didn't really, I wasn't going through it. I probably was missing my brother, but I don't, at 9, 10 years old, grief is, you're just a kid. So you're just walking through it and, you're just doing emotions. But I'm watching my parents, like, over the years, just really, I watched my mama grieve hard, 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 hard. And so when I see people, I try to tell people, deal with it the best way you can. Because you can tell people, it'll be all right. And, that ain't the stuff you're supposed to tell people. Because you can't tell people it's gonna be all right and they heart broke.
And I
So
just
it
like to
doesn't
add,
sound. Go ahead.
I just like to add something to that. When you said, when you gave the definition of grief, people always equate grief with someone passing away. Grief can also be a loss of something, like a loss of a relationship you were in, say a loss of a friendship. In this situation, we're talking about death. So, and I like to equate that as not a loss that my child transitioned. So that's what I like to do. That's how I like to put that, because when I'm saying loss, it's like I don't know where he went, and I know where he went. I know what happened to him. So
Hmm.
I guess since I experienced, because I've also experienced the death of my father at the age of 6, and then the death of my grandmother, who I was really close to, and a lot of other people, my aunt. But as far as my son, this has hit me harder than anything that has ever hit me in my life. So um, I just wanted to, to add to what you were saying about grief. That grief can be, it's the loss of something, not only death, but it can be, like I said, friendship and, a loss of a pet or relationship. So I just wanted to add that to what you were saying.
No, no, that's good. That's good. And like anything, yeah, like you say, the fact that um I don't know. Like I said, you speak really. I don't know. Your energy does it for me. Cause before I even knew the situation, I was like, your personality is bubbly. You know. I guess you know what you know. Some people know in life what they're here for. You know things are gonna happen, and also your profession, you're dealing with it. You see it all the time. You have to help people cope through these situations with their family. So, I mean, it's all the more reason that you were the perfect person to for this. So yeah, we're gonna go. And then I also looked up mourning. The word mourning. It is the outward expression of grief, such as crying, sharing stories, or engaging in cultural and religious rituals. Like you said, it's more than just death. It's a lot of. And then if you I find myself, when people, as we get older, and when you're younger, and people are having, we go to funerals. We've been to funerals and we done. We've seen a lot of them, I'm sure.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
when people are in those modes, that's what somebody was telling me earlier, and then I read about it. You don't just say, "Well, how are you?" Or you don't say it'll be all right, or you don't. It's better to just leave things how they are. If that person that's going through it comes to you and they say, well, I need to talk, or they looking for you for words of wisdom or words of kindness or words of encouragement, then you offer it. But to just blankly just say things to people and people are in grief mode, like, that's not a good idea.
mhm, mhm.
That's my personal opinion. It's not a good idea to just say these things that people have said for years. And we all know that at the end of the day, not to be ugly, but they just words.
Can you
Because at the end of the day,
can you share the live on my page if you don't mind? A lot of
yeah, I'm listening.
okay. A lot of people keep
And so,
asking. That's why I keep leaving the page. I'm sorry.
oh, that's fine. So yeah, those are the things that I looked up. I'm trying to find my stuff that I looked up, and I said that's why I said it'll be a good idea, just because people in grief, people in mourning, and grief affects individuals in multiple ways. And the ways I found was four ways: emotionally, physically, cognitive, and social. And
Mhm,
emotionally would be profound sadness, guilt, yearning, anger. Physical is like fatigue, headache, appetite changes, sleep deprived. Like people are really out here going through these things on a daily basis, trying to figure out where, how, when, why. Just probably a sense of hope at this point, and it's not there. I'm looking for it. I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry. Okay, here it is. So physical fatigue, headaches, appetite changes, sleep deprived. The sleep deprived one, I want sleep is so important at our age. It's so important. And if you can't get it, like, okay, here we go. I'm doing it right now. If you can't get the sleep you need, it's just like it's real rough. It's rough. Brain fog, it causes brain fog too. And brain fog is ooh, that's something serious. If you ever had to go through it, that's something serious. Cognitive confusion, difficulty concentrating, brain power. You just can't get it. And social is withdrawal from others or change in relationships. A lot of people back up, like relationship wise. It causes a lot of problems. People break up, divorce,
mhm.
just family members never talk again. Just a lot of stuff is involved with this. So I'm saying it to say grief, we got to learn to cope with it better. We gotta learn it. Now you don't ever have to forget it. It's not what we saying. We're saying cope with it better. You know it's coming. Like at our age now, I'm 48. I think you're a little older than me, but at our age, we should know better. You know what I mean? We know that death is gonna happen. We know this. The things that hurt more, I think, are the way they happen, the unexpected.
Right, right.
So yeah, that's when it takes people for a toll. Just like one of my friends, they sent his dad home with 6 months to live, and I promise you, he was gone the next morning. And
Wow.
that threw his wife for a loop because she was like, they at least told me 6 months. So she's gonna grieve because, like she told me, I'm expecting 6 months at least with my husband, and didn't get 2 days. So I know for sure that's gonna be a real grief for her. You know, she's gonna grieve. But I've been talking a minute. You want to say something? You can say something because I'm getting ready for your questions. But you got something you want
Um,
to add?
um, as far as grief, um, when you said that we have to learn how to cope with it, grief is a process. So the way I may cope with it, the next person may not cope with it the same. So, and we have to go through grief. There's no way around it. It's something that we have to go through in order for us to get to the next step in life. So as far as for instance, my child died of a massive heart attack. I just want to speak about my son before we get into the questions, if you don't mind. And
Go right ahead.
and so my son died of a massive heart attack. And so and he that morning he came to the house and he dropped his not that morning. That morning we went to church and we, as my mom and I normally do, we go by his house and we visit because my daughter-in-law had he and my daughter, my son and my daughter-in-law had just had their second child, and so we go by their house and we visit, and we probably bring donuts and this, stuff like that. And so he was telling us about the church, and he was praying and all that, preaching on his camera at his house because he was at work. He worked the whole 12-hour shift. And then he
Mm-hmm.
came and he dropped off the his two little bitty kids, and him and his wife and my nephew and his two older kids. They went to a kickball game, and it probably was an hour and a half later. I got the phone call that my son had passed out on the kickball field. Um, and when I got to the hospital, me dealing with death like I do, working at the funeral home. Shout out to Proctor's Mortuary. So when I got to the hospital, I already knew that my child was gone. That's just the mother's feeling. I already knew that he was gone. I had two babies, and the now 1 year old, he went quickly to sleep. The now 2 year old, he just looked in the sky and he smiled. So that right there told me he seen his dad as an angel, and I already knew he was gone. It was hurting me on the inside. That trip from Beaumont to Port Neches used to take me or anybody probably like 35, 40 minutes, which it probably took me 15 minutes to get there. And the ambulance was still there with my child. And as we were coming in, the boys and I, as we were coming in, the ambulance was leaving. So so I knew we had to follow him to the hospital, to the Port Arthur Hospital, whatever the name of that hospital is, like Southeast Texas uh hospital. I think that's the name of it. But my daughter is trying to.
You know what?
My daughter was trying to get it on the page or something. Um,
Okay.
but so when I got there, I just knew the way the I was looking in the back door and the way the nurses and the doctors were moving. My child was already deceased. I already knew that coming on the freeway going to him, and so and he was so peaceful when I did get in there. He was so peaceful. My daughter-in-law was explaining to me after everything was over that when he fell in her arms, he fell with his grabbing his chest, and his fist was balled. But when he hit the ground, his palms were up. So that's, to me,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that meant to anyone else, but and I'm having chills not talking about it. But to me, it meant like, God, I'm ready. I'm able, and I'm available. I'm here for you. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
After the fact, my daughter-in-law explained to us how before he left that morning, how he said he loved her, and and it went viral all on Facebook and social media. How he did a heart tour, and he said he loved her. So in my thing, because he paused before he got in his truck that morning. So in my thoughts, God had already spoken to him and said, today was your day. He didn't tell him what time he was going, but he did tell him today was your day because he went to the kickball field, even as I was told, and he was hugging everybody and he was happy and he was preaching on the way from my house to the kickball field and everything. So I think he was ready and he knew that today would be his day. I just thank God that he didn't pass away on the highway or at his job or somebody killed him. I hate that my child is gone, but it just feels like you know, those scenarios would have taken me out even, worse if that makes sense. I mean, I'm in a lot of pain now, but
Mm-hmm.
um, for my son to have been killed or shot or something like that, I mean, that would have been harder for me. But just the
Yeah,
little background of him.
yeah. I seen on your I was seeing on your Facebook page and stuff, and I was like, oh man, that's a I don't know, just a vibrant young man, family man. That's what I saw. I don't even know your son, but what I saw was a vibrant family man, young man that loved his wife, kids. You could tell, and somebody that's
Mhm.
always smiling. Somebody that's always smiling. They love God. I
Yeah.
know that for sure. And he always, like I said, I don't have to know him. And Facebook is only good to me. Facebook is good for that quality. When
Hmm.
you are showing pictures, like your family members and friends are able to see you and your family's growing or whatever, I like Facebook for that reason. But in social media, but not for the other hype or whatever. But when you can see people and how they're living with their children and how they grow and be adults and they have children. Now you got grandkids but I mean when you got somebody, when you look at them like you said, you were able to tell, you were able to just pick up on, like the wife say, fist or ball, but when he hit the floor, they open. Like
Hmm.
you guys are so spiritual and you are so with God. You already knew. You already know. You know the signs of what you saw. You were able to accept it easier, like you said, versus him being murdered or him on the highway and crashing into something and it just being really dangerous and violent. It was just, and then the whole way the day started, and y'all just, you realize that whole day what it was about. And so I can relate, I can relate and think back, even though I was 9 years old about my brother, that whole day plays back in my head. Like what that lasted, like what happened that whole day, what we did. We stayed around the house, we cleaned up, and it was that night it happened, and I just remember my daddy coming home and finding him, and it's just like, whoa, that one day or that person, whatever that person did that day, it's never gonna forget. You're never gonna forget it. That last
Right.
day, if you was around that person, it's just a locked in moment, and it's just there. So
Right.
you try to, and people tell you try to forget. You don't. That's the problem to me. Don't try to forget it.
Hmm.
Because if you focus on not thinking about it, you're gonna think. Just let it flow. If that's
Right.
easy to say, but you just let it. All my years, it didn't affect me until I'm now. Because
Hmm.
now I'm like, oh, I'm missing a big brother somewhere. Like I have a younger brother that's 42. I'm 48. But I be like, what about our 57-year-old brother? Like you don't know who he could have been. Like I always go, he passed away at 15. I'm like, but gosh, what could he have been? Or what was it God had for him out here to do? I know it was something, we don't question God, but I was like, oh man. So yeah, I like me, I try to stay happy and I try to be happy on a daily basis. I just want happiness in my life because we only get one life. I tell
Hmm.
people, you get one life, you get one heart, don't break it. Don't let nobody break it. Like you get, sometimes you just get one. You get one mama. You get one daddy.
That's
Sometimes
right.
you just get one of something. And when you get that one or something, you need to do, you need to do good by it
And
for real. Cause
my thing was with my son is that I am a Christian and I do believe in God and I do believe in we all have to go this way at one point because I tell it to families in and out. I mean, I didn't told it to thousands of families. But my thing with my son is the Bible do say that honor your father and your mother. My child did that. I do thank God for allowing me those 33 years with him. God gave me two wonderful kids, a great, great, wonderful daughter, wonderful son. And he blessed me with wonderful daughter-in-law, wonderful son-in-law. I mean, my son-in-law stepped right up. My son passed. But my thing, what I was wrestling with, is that when the when the Bible spoke about honor your father and your mother, or your days will be short upon this earth. My son honored his father and his mother, but his days were still short. And I was
right.
wrestling with that for a while. And like you said, we're not supposed to ask God why, but I had to ask God why. Why him?
Yeah.
They have so many people that do so many wrong things, or not this and not that. But my child, he waited for a while to get married, and he waited, to have his kids and a family. But he asked God. I can remember him standing here, and he said, "Mama, I just asked God for a few things, a good job, a home, a wife, and kids." God gave it all to him, but he didn't tell him how long he was going to enjoy it. So the little time he had, he enjoyed what he had, and and we don't know as parents what we instill into our kids. And for his dad and myself, we instill greatness in both of our kids, and told them go out there and do great things. And just to show them those 33 years, he went out there and he did great things. After the services, I was able to hear how I was sending him encouraging messages, and he was sending it to his friends and to people that was hurt or whatever. So his time here on earth, he did what he was supposed to do. And I was telling him about, my grandkids, like he was teaching his older two kids different things, and I was like, you going too fast with those kids. But he knew what he was doing. I didn't know, but he knew what he was doing. He knew what God had told him. He knew he had a relationship with God, and that's what we did. We brought them up in church so they will have a relationship with God. And that's all a part of grief therapy is you go back and you think about those things. How was I as a mother? Did he know that I love him as a mother? Not just me saying that, but me showing him. And I showed him, and it's not always monetary. It's about how you treat the person, and how they feel, and do they know? Do they understand it? So
Right.
I was, and that's helping me through the grieving process as well. Just knowing that he knew that I love him. Not only did I tell him that, or tell his sister that, I showed them. And I try to do that to the families that I have to come in contact with. And talk to them about the grief process of what I've gone through or what I'm going through now. It may look easy, but sometimes I have some rough days.
Mhm.
And I just continue to pray and lean on God, and I think what's getting me through is that I'm able to share my story with someone else or talk to someone else about what they're going through. It may not be grief today, but it may be illness or it may be family situations, but I'm able to talk, and not just sit up and mourn my child, because my child was a good child. And that's what he would do. He would talk, And he got that part from his mom, I'm sure.
I was just like that came from me. But no, that's really true. But I want to touch on when you said you from young kids you raise them in church, you and your husband, and so are they. It's just it's one of them things where you just like you said you're able. I know why you're able to talk about it and you're able because you did the orders and steps that God ordered with your family, and so if you know the orders and steps in life that God has how will I say it? That God has I'm just sitting up here thinking. The steps that we follow that God has ordered, I guess once you do that, then the rest falls in place.
Right,
So you
right.
said able to talk and yeah, because you did it, you did it right. I just gonna give you flowers. You did it right. And you're able,
Thank you.
and like you said, you got 33 years. Your son was able to share things with his children and show his children things that you like. Well, why you showing it? You're right. It was God already preparing because when he left, the kids are able to say, "My daddy taught me that," or "My daddy showed me that," or "My daddy." They're gonna remember what their daddy showed them. So, like you say, great son, great father, great husband. You can't ask for no more than that at 33 years old.
Right,
And
right.
so, on those terms, you just pat yourself on the back, and you did your job. So we'll get into the questions. I have three questions, like I always have for people. I want to know, how are you learning? Well, you kind of talked about it already, but I had the question: how are you learning to cope in your daily life as a mother? Because, like I told you before, mothers and fathers are grieving for their children. But as a mother out here, how are you learning? Just how have you learned to cope on your daily life? You just get up. You getting up in the mornings and.
Matter of fact, I just posted that on my page to get up and get dressed, pray, you know, think of the memories, the fun memories that we have. In my situation, I still have a living child, so I can't deny her the a mother. I can't take a break from her because she still needs me. Even though she's an adult and she's married with a family, so I have to get up, and I know he would want me to get up. So I continue to get up, and I try to encourage someone with some type of message, so that maybe they can encourage someone else. So that's how. And the title I never wanted to wear is Angel Mom, but now I am an Angel Mom, so I wear it proudly because my child is an angel, and I am the mom, so I am his mom. So that's what I do. I get up and I open up my house and I say my prayers, and when I go out, before I get ready for work and everything, I say good morning to God and I get good morning to my child. I miss my child, and I start my day. I mean, and sometimes I do cry, but that's a part of the grieving process. Not to hold it in, but to let it out. But I don't sit in my puddle and cry because I keep on
Yeah.
moving. And that may not be someone else's story, but what I would recommend for a new angel parent that's going through what I'm going through, remember the good times. Remember the times you had to fuss at the child, or the things that they say that made you laugh or made you angry. But just remember the times that God allowed you to have with your child.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I
in
do.
such. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
So that's what I do. That's what I tend to do.
And that's a good direction for yourself because it keeps you grounded. I per se, I don't know. I look at myself and I go, you tough. I drive 18 wheelers and just a lot of. I know how to fix on cars. I know how to do a lot of stuff. I get everybody in my family consider me tough girl. They don't know. Girl, I done cried so much in my car and just driving. I mean, I know the other day, I know somebody, I was at the doctor's office and the lobby was full of people. And I was talking to my niece and I was just telling her, you need to go see your grandma. You need to get over there and see your grandma and grandpa. I don't know what happened. I didn't even care. I know I cried in the doctor's office in front of a lot of people. I was in the Spectrum store trying to bring my motor back and switch it out. And I was talking to my niece, and next thing you know, I was just crying, and people was looking like I say, "Oh God, I don't even know what's wrong." I know what's wrong, but it's just I can't. When you can't control it, you just can't control it.
Hmm.
It's just, and it's okay. My neighbor, she say it's okay to cry. She say it ain't never been. I say I don't really care because if I gotta cry, I just gotta cry. Like I'm not hiding emotions. I'm not running from them, and I want people to know that you don't have to. I don't care if you're in a grocery store line. If it come down, it just comes down. Like,
Hmm.
don't be embarrassed or don't feel like, oh God, I'm crying or I'm finna cry. You just let it go because, like I say, grief is in all shapes and forms. So I would just, let it just let it flow. And even now, I every day I find myself just, oh well, it's gonna come down because it's just what I'm going through. But I also want to remain happy.
Right.
I want to keep good spirits or whatever. But I do have my moments where I'm just breaking down. I'm like, okay, come on. But like you say, you just keep going, because the thing about it is death means stop, and while you're living, it means go.
Mhm.
And so if you're still in, you just have to keep going. It sounds heartless, but it's just the way it works. Like, you want to shut down, and I know plenty of people shut down. You just can't. You don't have the option to. And when you do it, it's just a major setback. It's a major setback, because I've seen people grieve and they never come out of it. They never come out of it, and it's just like, man, and that's the problems for that person. So I just, like I said, I'm just gonna keep praying. I pray a lot. I know. I tell you, I say, oh, I know God gets tired of me, Lord. Oh, I know He gets tired of me. What? Because I be in the midday of traffic. I'm like, God, please, come on, please get me. I talk to God a lot. So
Right.
I just tell people all the time, I don't even worry about, I don't be worried about nobody thinks. Like, I don't. I'm in my own world, I'm in my own circle. I'm a kidney survivor, like, for real. And
Mhm.
I almost didn't make it. Ever since it's been 4 years, I'm telling you. I tell you get a relationship with God, it's real. It's real. You don't have to question nothing. You don't have to, just keep walking with God, believing in God, and watch how your life goes. Things will turn around, things that you don't expect to happen. Just like now, I got people bringing stuff to my parents' house, just like, it ain't even happened yet, and people just doing things. So that's why I say you gotta roll with the punches. You gotta stay active. You know what I mean? You gotta stay active. You gotta roll with the punches, because daily life still comes every day. 5 a.m. is coming, and I'll be glad. I tell people, keep saying good morning.
That's right.
Keep saying good morning. I have a family member, older lady. She told me, you know what, baby, you just keep saying good morning, and that's right. Because if you don't say good morning, you know the alternative. So you just gotta be glad. Some people say, I ain't no morning person. I got one of my kids like that. She stay, I'm not a morning person, because she even work night shift to
Mhm.
prove she don't like the morning. But I told her, don't say that, because mornings is when you wake up. So stop saying you ain't no morning person. Yes, you are.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, you gotta fix you gotta fix your environment. Even if your kid is saying so, you gotta fix it and let them know that's not. Nah, we don't think like that. Because sometimes people don't know, they just be talking. But real life, in a spiritual form, yeah, your kids, your family, you gotta get people on the same road that you on, and then you have better results. And understanding is better. A lot of stuff is better that way. Second question: how can your family and friends support you through a process of this nature? Like, having to bury a child. How is it that, let family and friends know, just not for yourself, just period, for people, period. What are some things that, some do's, some don'ts, or.
I would say some dudes is if you see me smiling and and you ask me how I'm doing, um I wouldn't say keep on saying you all right. If I say I'm okay, you just okay. I just told you I was okay. So don't keep asking me if I'm. It just seems like when people do that, they want to hear something sad or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel. If I say I'm okay, that's just how I feel. I'm okay at this moment. You know, since my son transitioned, I've been okay. I'm okay. It's not like and you can see me outside dancing, and you come and ask me how are you doing. I'm okay, and then some people will be like, "You sure?" Yeah. Um, so I would
Like
say
they
if a
judging.
person,
Stop judging me.
ma'am,
No, I'm saying, it's just like they keep nudging at you, like they want you to cry, they want you to say, like, come on. I'm telling you, I'm okay. Let's go on with something else now.
and my grief might be different from the next person. I think you and I had shared this. As far as um it can be two parents going through grief, and my child died of a massive heart attack, and someone else's child was murdered. We are going through grief together. Someone else's child committed suicide. We are going through grief together, but it's not the same. It's not the same, and people have to understand that. And just because I'm not crying the whole time that you see me, that doesn't mean I'm not going through. That doesn't mean I'm not in pain. Or just because I'm talking or I'm having fun, I'm laughing, that doesn't mean I'm not in pain. That doesn't mean my grief period is over. So
Right.
that's what I would like to say in that sense is that if a person that's going through grief tell you they're okay, take that for their word. If you feel like they're not okay on the inside, say a prayer, whisper a prayer. You know, if that's
Mhm.
what you do. If that's not what you do, then don't keep on nudging like you sure, and gonna come back around, because that right there can bring out sadness and nobody wanna be sad. Nobody wanna be sad. You like I said, today you may not have to sit in that seat, but tomorrow you may have to sit in that seat. We just don't know.
Mhm. And everybody got a seat.
Mhm.
Everybody got a seat. Um. Okay, that's good. Last question. What advice would you like to leave grieving parents who are left out here to survive on a daily basis? I asked you something like that, but no. What would you like to leave? What would you like to give to the parents that really are out here and because some don't. And when I say this, I'm not saying, please don't misunderstand me. I'm saying some aren't as strong as you. And, some parents just can't deal. Like, it's really difficult. So I guess I'm saying, because you got to have a first step to a situation like that to solve it. Like, you got to address what's the issue first so they can, come out of the grief. You just can't say, well, no, that person has to really get a hold of what is it that what I guess you have
For
to uh, get the topic first, the front line. What is it that's making you feel how you feel?
for me, um, it's for me as a parent, my son and I had a good relationship. Now, for someone else that they didn't have a good relationship, they have to grieve that part first. The relationship that they didn't have with their child to get to the death of their child. So that's what I believe. And so
Mhm.
say the last week of my child's life, if I was arguing with my child and I feel bad about something I may have said that might have hurt my child's feeling, well, I have to get over that part. I have to grieve that part right there first. And then I need to get to the death of my child. But since my child and I had a great relationship, I have already, gotten to that point and now I'm on the grieving step. So I would tell a parent that didn't have also good relationship with their child, grieve that situation, and then you can get to your grieving part of the death of your child. And then with the death of your child, when you get to that part, I would say take it. It's no day by day because day is so broad. Day by day is broad. Take it moment by moment. Because this moment I could be talking to you, and then the next few moments I can be crying. I can be bawling my eyes out. I can be sitting in the corner somewhere, just crying, crying, crying. So take it moment by moment where it's not so broad and not so wide out, And I will also tell the parent that's going through this grief is that the way you grieve is the way you grieve. Can't nobody tell you how to grieve.
Mhm.
Because I may be in your situation, but I can't tell you how to grieve. You have to
Mhm.
grieve the way you grieve. You have to grieve at your own pace. Maybe my grieving therapy or my grieving process may be um, 6 months. Maybe yours may be 7 years. I can't tell you how to grieve, but I can tell
Mhm.
you how not to sit in that same spot. You know what I'm saying? Go to like for me, I go to I like water, and water is calming something calming for me. So
Me.
it to me it feels like it washes away things, like washes away my sorrow and washes away my pain. So I go and I sit by the water, and so and it helps me, it helps me realize that, hey, he's in a better place, and I equate that with, because his favorite color was blue. So every time I see a blue bird, they come around, he just sits around, he looks or whatever. I equate that to him, like, hey son, what you doing? What you got going on over there, or something like that. And he left me with two beautiful, well, four kids, two beautiful little boys, the last two babies they had. And and so I look at them and they look just like him. One looked like him as a fat little boy, and one looked like him as a skinny little toddler. So I have that, and
Oh yeah.
some other parents don't have that, and I enjoy those moments, and I have six grandkids, so, and he was a part of all their lives. So that's what I do. I take those memories, take those small things that we normally would do, and I remember my child with those, and so that's what I would tell a parent. If it's so hard for you, just take those small moments in life, and remember your child with those small moments. Don't ever allow anyone to make you forget your child. Because that's your child.
Mhm.
And so that's what I do. I mean, if some people may get like, "Ooh, she's still talking about this. She needs to get over it." Well, that's what you think, because that's not you. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And sometimes you can see that in people's facial expression. Like, I don't want to hear no more about that. And until it's your turn to sit in that seat, you gonna feel like that. But when
And you know what? Yeah, right there. And it's always that situation. You can say what you want to say, but when it hits you, now you see.
hmm
And it's like, but I would never, ever, 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 nothing would ever come over me to make me look at somebody that's grieving about somebody and think, that's how you still talking. What do you mean? And like you say, you still talk. Like I told you earlier about my mom. My brother passed away in '85. I mean '83. Yeah, '85. You know how long ago that was? Because
hmm
I was in third grade then. But my brother passed away, and my mom is 77 now, and I promise you, she ain't ever, ever, ever forgot it. It's been with her. I know he been gone. Let's see, if gosh, I'm 48. It's 40 about 40 years,
hmm
39 or 40 years.
hmm
In third grade. My mama haven't forgot a day of it. She slowly, this is why I tell you, I know what grief look like real live grief about a mother and a child. I know what it looked like. But it was funny about, let's see, that was right before her stroke. My brother bought her a heart, like it says mother on it.
hmm
But guess what? It got Astroworld. You know that's old. Because it got Astroworld. He went to Astroworld on a class trip, I think eighth grade, ninth
hmm
grade, and he cut his wooden heart back, and it has Astroworld at the bottom. She kept it. I thought from us moving from Beaumont to Dallas, I thought, I always thought about where that heart at. I always wondered where was that heart he gave her.
hmm
She she told me to get some out of her. This was right before her stroke in January. She told me to get some out of her dresser drawer. And I was getting it for her. That heart was in that dresser drawer. I say, Mom, you still got the heart? He gave you. That's what she said. She said, take it home with you. And it's hanging right in my bedroom on the wall. Because for years, I thought, I knew that was like the last thing my brother, like he's 15, he was 15 when he passed away, but I knew he gave her a couple of things in life, and I was like, I always thought about that heart. I was like, where's that heart he bought from Astroworld? Because he went on a class trip and he thought about it. He's like, here, mama, he bought it. And so she gave me that heart, and that heart's been on my wall ever since. Like, it's been there like 6 months now, just hanging there. And I look at it and I go, she finally let it go. She's at ease and at peace about it.
hmm
She was able to give me something he gave her.
hmm
And she just said it so easy. She didn't cry. And I told my auntie and them, I said, I think she's finally at peace with it. But it's almost 40 years later. And she's finally like talking and can just say his name without tearing up. But like I say, she transitioning right now. I'm waiting to hear his name come out of her mouth. You know what I mean? I'm waiting
Yeah.
to see if she say it one last time before, if she close her eyes before me. I'm just waiting to hear if she gonna think about him before, she leaves because that's her child.
Mhm.
You know, and it sound bad, but I'm so happy. I'm home my tears. I'm happy because she's gonna get to be with her child. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
all, all these years she grieved, and I'm up here going. She gonna actually be at peace with. She'll get the, and I think that's what she know. She know that I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna get the rest, and I know that's what she think about my brother. She knows she
Mhm.
gonna get to see him, and so yeah, I'm cool. I'm sorry, I'm cool on it, but it's
It's
just one of them
okay.
things.
It's okay because
It's
a
just,
sibling, like I was my and a sibling's grief is just as worse. We often don't talk about that as well, about sibling
yeah.
grief, because that's what you're going through, a sibling's grief. And like I said, it's
Hmm.
no cutoff time for grief. It's no cutoff
Right.
time for grief. It can be longer than, like you said, it's been 40 years. So hey, but and then you have to be there for mom and try to encourage her, and just think about, like I said earlier, just think about what we have to go through as a parent to have a living child. And I don't know if your mom have, yeah, your mom have two other living child, but we still have to show up for those other kids, because it's not
Yep.
fair for us not to show up for them, because we had one in the transition. So you trying to tell me that you leaning more towards this child than you are me, mom? So no,
Yeah.
so and that's another thing that I had to come to realization with for my living child.
Hmm.
It was hurting me because she was in so much pain, but I never lost a sibling, so I don't know. I can't tell her anything about that. And everybody always say go to counseling, but how can you go to counseling and talk to a counselor who never sat in your seat?
And a lot of people have difficulty with that. They like, I hear people say that all the time. I'm not going to talk to nobody that don't know me or somebody that doesn't. And I don't know. Like I said, I haven't. Have I ever? I don't think I ever just went to counseling for anything. I'm kind of one of them people that just I talk myself through it. I talk myself through it and I just push through it because, like you said, I was a kid that when my older brother passed, then my mom and dad had another son. So
Mm.
he passed, and I ended up having a younger brother. So I always been in the middle, and I do
Mhm.
have an older sister. But I'm just I always got juggled in the middle. So I always just kind of, like my daughter was laughing. She said, "That's what's wrong with you. You a middle child." I say,
Middle child syndrome, huh?
yeah, she talking about you a middle child. She's like, I say, I always been a middle child since I've been born. I've been in the middle. So, and then yeah, but it was a weird transition. Like as a child, I lost an older brother, and then he gone. And I got a 2-year-old little baby brother right here. So it's like, you know, it was one of them things that it's bad. I say it's not. I used to say, oh, this is so bad that our family went through this, but it's not bad. It's God.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. It's not bad. It's God. It's life. It's what happens. It's what's going to happen. And so I guess we old enough now. We just know it's going to happen. We just don't know the time and we don't
Mhm.
know the place, but it's going to happen to each one of us. So at the end of the day, you try to be. My best advice to people is just be close to God. I mean,
Mhm.
you have parents, children, you have aunties, you have uncles, you have grandmas, you have grandpas. Those are just people just like I am. But
Mhm.
where do I go for that spiritual healing? Where do I go when my heart broke? Where do I go when I don't have no, like I have people, but you can get in a zone and just say, you don't want to talk to people all the time. I don't always want to talk to people. I don't
Right.
always want to somebody and be like crying. And I know, and like you said earlier, for the last about let's see, February, March, April, May, June, last 4 months, I haven't went sat at more lakes. I'm in Dallas. We do got a little.
Yeah.
I've learned water in Dallas because I was like, oh, I wish I was back home. I could just drive to the river. I could drive. We got a few rivers out here in Dallas. I
Mhm.
done found some holes, and I'm like, I'm gonna give me a fishing rod. I'm gonna start hitting spot like fishing holes and just sit there and just fish and just be in my own, because I like water. I can go. We
Mhm.
have a white rock lake out here. It's a big lake here in Dallas, very pretty park. Girl, I 2 in the morning. I drove up to it. for about 2 hours. Sat there from
Mhm.
2 to 4 in the morning. And I came back home and they was like, "You went out to the lake by yourself that late?" I had my gun. I'm good.
Mhm. And that's what people don't
And
understand. Sometimes you just want to get away and you don't want to do all that talking. And people always
I'm talking.
like they want to text and they want to talk. What you doing? And I don't feel like doing it. If I don't feel like doing it nowadays, I'm not doing it. I don't feel like doing it. I feel like being alone. I feel like sit. Sometimes I just feel like sitting in the house by myself because you got to go through this grief by yourself. You can't nobody go through this with you. This is something you got to do for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm
It's doing
crying in here, I don't have nobody running to me and wiping my tears or whatever. And I like it that way because I need to. This is something I need to do for me. This is
mm-hmm.
something I need to get through for me, not for you and not for anyone else. So if I'm crying somewhere else, it's okay for you to come in and say, "Hey, it's gonna be all right" or something like that. But don't holler about, don't stop crying, or you need to stop all that crying to get over it. No, 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 no. I carried that child, so it's not no getting over that just like that.
And
Those
you
are
may
some of
never,
the yeah,
and that's fine. That, like you said, that's your child. And you don't want to sit here and focus and be like, I might grieve. You don't want to grieve on purpose, but you don't have to get over it either. You don't ever have to get over it. If you don't never get over it, oh well, that's your child. People
yeah.
can people
My child's memory is gonna always be alive. I'm not gonna never ever. And I'm saying never ever let my child's memory, just go down the drain because that's the child I had. I birthed
mhm.
that child, and even someone that didn't birth the child, that adopted a child that was, younger or something like that and been having that child forever, they have a connection. You have a bond. So that's something that you just don't get rid of, So grief is grief is something serious. So for the
Yeah.
person looking from the outside looking in and feeling like, hey, it's not that serious. Yes, it is. It's that serious and it's that much pain. When you, even though like you going through a grieving process and your parents is transitioning right in front of you, that's hard. That's hard because we all got a date. We all got a date that we must pass on to the next life. But when that day comes, that's even harder. That's even harder because now you grieving something now, grieving their illness, and then it's going to have to be a grieving process of when they pass away. You know what I'm saying? So that's hard. That's hard. That's hard on your mental. That's hard on your physical. That's hard on your emotions. So that's hard.
It is because I done had shingles in the last 6 months. When my mama, I had shingles. I done had hives. Like the doctor's like, your body is really under attack with stress. She was like,
Yes.
how you so stressed? I said,
Yes.
how am so stressed? She said, I don't know, but she said, I'm not telling you to be able to do it. She said, I understand what you're going through. She said, I would be. She said, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm just going, so I just walk out the doctor's office and I say, God, just hold me. That's all I know to say. Like, ain't nothing else, nothing else, nobody, nothing can fix it but God. So I just, God, hold me again. But yeah,
Right.
it is. Right. I already, like I said, my mom been sick for over 30 years, believe it or not. She's had seizures. When we lived in Beaumont, way back in, when was that, like the 90s? She had a seizure right at Baptist. She hit the light pole by Baptist Hospital, and that's when we first learned she had seizures. And that's over 30 years ago. She been and my dad, they've been married up 50 years. Like I told y'all, 50 years in September. If I tell you, I don't get in married people business. I don't have nothing to do about that. But if I tell you, as far as a father, a husband, and a grandfather, my daddy has taken care of my mama for over 30 years. I promise he has. And it's just, I hugged him yesterday and I hugged him and he jumped on, whoa, what are you doing? I said, Dad, be still. I just hugged him and I cried on him. I said, I just want to give you flowers today, and let you
Mhm.
know, because I saw one of my friends, she was in the living room and she just teared up. She said, I ain't never saw a man, she said, a man that step up 30 plus years and take care of his wife. My daddy did it. So I honestly could say, if they were like, what if your mom was a transition? Because she is, she is there. if she
Mhm.
transition back to your dad, what you gonna do? Leave, you know, because right now they live, you know, just them two, and I'm just there every day. I said she got to come stay with me. I'm just
Mhm.
going to get because they really have just changed into my babies.
Mhm.
I said, these are my kids. Shoot, you know, that's just like my kids now. So I tell people, and I try to tell people too, when you have your parents, if it ain't right, try to make it right. Like
Right.
maybe they didn't hear you, or maybe growing up, or maybe they were in the streets, or they just gave you up for the. I don't know. I don't know. We're not perfect. People make decisions, and it sometimes it's not the right decision, or it wasn't the best decision at that moment. But if you still got a mom and a daddy out here, I can't express. I just can't express how to get it right. Like
Mhm.
I've been with mine 40 years, as long as I live in it. And I'm so blessed they just still married, and I'm blessed to have that. But for people that don't have it, my advice is fix it. Because there is nothing like I just can't imagine them going to their grave and I didn't say I love you, or I didn't my mama every day now, she could barely talk. You know what she do? She was like, and she stay blowing us kisses. So we know that she's at peace and she's good, you know. And so my heart only breaks for my daddy because he the one sitting there, girl. He just wants to go with her. I can tell. You know, he sitting there. He be so sad. His head be hanging out. And I prayed about it. I say, God, if that's the will to take them both, you know, so one don't have to be. I'm cool with it. And so that's how, like I said, my grief level. That's where my level. You know, I try to keep it. I just try to talk to God and keep it with God,
And
so
I
it's easier for me.
and I always tell people, as I tell myself, that you can't get to your strength unless you go through your weakness. So you got to go through
Mhm.
your weakness in order for you to get through your strength. So when someone passes away or transition, I always tell them, instead of me telling them be strong or whatever, I tell them I pray for your comfort because I want God to comfort you as you think about those memories, or when you get weak, comfort that person, comfort me, Lord, so I can be strong in my weak, after I go through my weakness. Because if you can't ever go through your weakness, you'll never get to your strength. So you have to go through
Mm-mm.
your weakness in order for you to get through your strength. In order for you to allow God to take you on to the strength that He needs you to have during this time of grieving. So that's
Mhm.
another thing that I would, recommend to a grieving parent. Go through your weakness. Go through your weakness and don't try to not cry, because crying is a process of grief, no matter where you are. And so, I mean, sometimes I could be, out dancing with some of my friends. I am the primary caretaker for my mom. And sometimes I can be in the car ride with her and she come up with memories. I can be in the, dancing. I can be at the funeral home, and I share tears or whatever. That's a part of my grief.
That's
That's the new
that's
me
what
at this
it
moment. That's the new me. And that's what you have to do. I mean, you can't always be strong. You
can't.
have to show,
Yeah.
you have to be weak at some point, you know?
And no, and who is that? I mean, let's be for real. Because I consider myself to be pretty strong. I've been through, you know, a few situations that made me say, dang, you beat that girl, you did that. Like, but at the end of the day, this right here, I tell everybody I've been through a few things and I done pushed through and kept going, but this, watching my parents leave, oh man, it's such a heartbreak. I tell everybody, I say, you know what, at this point, when God brings you to this terms, then that's where you know that you know what, you just better chill out. And I try not to feed into too much. You know, I hear people talking about a certain thing or whatever. I go the other way because I be like, nah, don't comment. You know, just you have to learn to pick your battle. When you grieving and you know, like some days you're gonna grieve harder than others. Days you grieving real bad, you might want to go and stay at the house.
Right,
Cause
right, right.
yeah, go on. When I used to work at I was a safety manager, you know, people would call in to work and I had some people call me and say, I just like that lost loved ones or, you know, just had buried a loved one, they just I just can't do it today. I say, it's okay. And if you need a couple of days, I got it. You know, you don't people out here trying to work and survive in everyday life and all that, don't force that. Don't make somebody feel like, well, if you don't come to work, you gonna lose your. Don't do that because you'll send that person into another trend, and who knows what that would do to that person. So you gotta be, you just gotta be. I don't know. People gotta find kindness in their heart, whether they want to or not. You gonna have to find it for people out here. But I'm looking at our comments, the comments on here, and you got a real good comment. That's because that's why I said you a sweet person. But who is this? Tanya White. She says, Shauna, I'd like to tell you that I see your face and how you allowed to carry you through. The fact that you can take out the time and share with others is a testimony. And the Bible tell us we overcome by testimony and the blood of the Lamb. I am yet praying for your strength. I was reading these comments that they were telling you, because I was like, you're so sweet. I know everybody say you sweet, but Tanya White, she left a real sweet mention. Dottie Dyson was commenting. Um, my cousin Charmaine Holman, she's very, you know her.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Dottie,
I know it.
Dottie
Baby,
has
that's
been a Dottie
go
has been
ahead.
a great, great support. She has been a great support system for me because her son transitioned before mine, and and when I tell you, she be on it. She's always inboxing me, telling me, praying for me, and sister, you got this. And we haven't met in person not one time, but because she's an angel mom and I'm an angel mom, and she does that, and I do as well. Reach out to other angel moms, and we be our support system because some days people don't understand us. And I know
No,
Shemaine Holman, she's very sweet. She's a very sweetheart.
girl, that's my cousin. Like we blood cousins, girl. My grandma and her grandma was sisters, baby. That's my cousin. I tell you now, if I tell you I know about some God and through them, that family right there. Oh, she
Hmm.
was right on in the church, baby. Hey,
I know.
what?
I
Yeah,
know.
grandma. I loved her grandma and grandpa. Like, boy, that was my daddy. Her grandpa and my daddy were first cousins. My daddy loved, baby, he loves her grandpa. So I grew up, seeing her, and I watched her like just grow into who she is right now, and I love every piece of her. Haven't seen her in years, but I see her on Facebook talking about hugging, and those are people that, as we get older, you look for them. You want to see
Hmm.
them kind of see them, and so like on here, she comment, we can question God, cousin. He has all the answers.
Yeah.
And he does. Yeah. Yes, he does. And when we seek him, we'll get clarity. That's right. And Pop Holmes, that's my boy. I know you know Pop.
Yeah, I know
He
Pop.
say and her people all my life, great people, great family. See, things like that, that's amazing. That's amazing that you can get those kind of comments. And same thing about my parents. When I call, like I said, my parents, my parents are Muslim, and I called one of the sisters, and I was like, where's, I'm looking like I know my parents like did a lot of work in the community over the years. In Dallas and Beaumont and Port Arthur, my daddy worked some streets. You hear me? My daddy cleaned
Hmm.
up some streets and did. So now they at the end of the road. I'm like, nobody's calling or coming around, and like I'm like, I know my family. Like, wait a minute. But I was like, well, I hadn't told nobody first of all what was really going on, and I made one phone call. And if I tell you, the next morning I had about 6 texts, I had about 5 phone calls come through, and that evening, my mama had 8 women around her bed. Her women of
Wow.
faith group had been in for years. And I told myself, you just had to make a phone call, one phone call, and not a whole community. Girl, people bringing stuff. I'm like, wait, don't bring food, please. We're not eating that fast around here. And, it's just all this stuff is pouring in. I'm like, oh my God. But you won't. That's what I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of the fact that people really love my parents. Like I'm hearing people say that they love my parents. So it's a good feeling to know, just like your son, he left here with love. He left here with people loving him. That makes it a little easier too to know this person was loved before they left this earth. And
They
that's
have.
all that I tell people. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead and get finished.
That's all I be trying to tell people now. I've seen a lot. I done been to so many funerals that I really don't even like going to funerals no more. I try to miss as many funerals as I can. I'm not lying. I pray for the person at the transition from from earth to wherever that person goes. The transition was peaceful with God, and that's all I can do. But I've been to so many funerals in my life. I'm just like, this is not immediate or whatever. I don't really try to get there because it's just, it's one of them things that I've had enough of it. Because the grief and that it hurt after a while. And you just
Mhm.
get tired of seeing it. So I'm there. If it's not, I don't run the funerals. I just don't do that. I'm not interested in that. And, you just say a prayer. Like I say, you say a prayer for the family and keep moving.
and
So
and and being a director at the funeral home, that's my calling, that's my passion. And so if I wasn't able to be a part of that process when they came to pick up my son, I don't think I'll be sitting here today because he knew that's what I do, and and so being a part of that process, when they came to pick him up, when Proctor came to pick him up and brought him to the morgue, and I also not only do I direct, but I also go and pick up bodies as well. And so I hadn't been to the morgue since my son passed, and it'll be a year on Monday, a year anniversary, his heavenly anniversary. So when I went to the morgue that first time, yeah, I think it's been about a month ago or whatever, and I was hit like a brick of like bricks was thrown at me because I was wondering. My head went back to wondering, like, hey, was he on the bottom shelf in the cooler? Was he on the top shelf? Something that be so like, why are you even thinking about that, Shauna, to somebody else? But because that's what I do, that's what I was thinking about. Or was somebody laying on top of him or something like that when they put him in there or whatever. But I knew that when my supervisor, when LaShawn went to come and pick him up, and Collins, when they came to pick him up, then I knew that he was going to take good care of him when he brought him to the morgue. He was going to put him somewhere safe, like, like his his spirit has already gone, but his shell is still there. Take care of my baby shell. So that's what that
and
was
look at you.
about.
I mean, I'm saying, look at you. Look how far a mother's love goes. Your
Yeah.
baby is you still trying, you still just hey, make sure my baby all right. Like don't do my baby in the kind, make
Yeah.
sure and that's what that is. I mean, it just show your mother love never stop. It just don't never stop.
It don't never stop. I pride in when I go and pick up people, in homes. And LaShawn takes pride in it. We take pride in not just throwing people remains because there's a person. That's somebody's
That,
loved one, and I wouldn't want nobody to do that to my loved one. Take good care of my loved one. Because hey, my loved one may come back breathing. I don't know. We may put him back there in that bag and he may start coughing or she may start coughing. So he got one more life to live. So, hey, take care of my loved one. So
yeah.
I just want, and it's okay to laugh and talk with the person that's going through grief. It's okay. It's okay. Um, like I said, nobody wants to continue to be sad all their life or whatever, this whole time. We want to hear some joyful stories. I can tell you right now that my inbox is still filled. I mean, it's like I said, it's going to be a year on Monday with people sending their condolences, and I hadn't even got to them. And I apologize, but I mean, it was just so many people that showed their love, and people still showing their love, for me. And I have a group of ladies and friends and family that still, hug and show their love, and that's there for me. And I just thank God for what He's doing in that situation because without their prayers and my church members, shout out to Antioch. Without their prayers and without them holding on to me or whatever, I wouldn't be, in this place where I am. My daughter has been a support. My mom, my siblings. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am. And I think you and I were talking earlier about the dog. He got a dog from a little bitty puppy, and now the dog sings. I put on gospel music early in the morning, and he hears song and that he loves, and he be howling. Oh, just like like where is that coming from? And so I know he's around here. He's watching over me, and I tell him I know his wings. I tell my son a lot of times I know your wings tied because you be watching over a lot of people. You had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people on your list, and sometimes I go back and I think about things that makes me mad by him. I said he wanted to be cremated as well, so I'll be like, you know what, son, I can put you back ash to ash. You know what I'm saying, and whoop your behind. For some of the things I'm thinking about right now. And it brings me to. It brings me laughing about, some of the things because I can hear him saying, Mama, go ahead and try it, Mama, go ahead and try it, or something like that. But just the memories bring you smiles or whatever. Everything don't always make you sad. Just a lot of things that you think about and a lot of smells that you smell of your loved one. It brings you smiles. So but grief is something that you have to go through. You just can't bypass it. You have to go through it. And I
Right.
recommend anyone that's having a hard time, if you want to reach out to me and you want to talk to me and you want somebody to listen to, I'm here. I'm here and I'll be able to listen to you and give you my honest opinion of where you need to be. I think God is leading me in that direction of
Mm-hmm.
grief counseling. And I'm making every preparation to be that person for, people that's going through grief. And I just pray God continue to comfort me and bring me through my weakness as I get to my strengths, so that I can be that person for the people that's going through grief. And I did it for the people out there that's asking, "Hey, did you go to counseling?" I did go to counseling. My counselor was a virtual counselor, and I sat on the couch. Us as Black people, like I ain't sitting on no couch and I ain't taking no medicine. My job was very good with me. My doctor was very good with me. My counselor was real good with me. The only thing I say about counseling for me is that I can't express to you how I feel in this situation because you hadn't sat in my seat. So what are you going to tell me? You need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You need to breathe, and you need to do that, or whatever. So I want
Mm-hmm.
to be that person that has, a child has transitioned, that I can be there for that person, that the person to listen to and say, hey, this is what I did and this is what worked for me. I'm not saying it's going to work for you, but this is what worked for me. And I just ask that you just try it. If you don't do anything else, just try it. Like on his birthday, I skate. I like to skate. And so I went skating. I went skating that morning. I cried, but I went skating and I had a good time. And I was just letting the wind just blow, through or whatever. So, and I just thank God that I just had the ability to get out there and not, sit in my sorrow and
Mm-hmm.
think about, hey, this is what He wants me to do, in this moment or whatever. And so I would recommend that, someone that's going through grief, whether it's your child, your parent, or whatsoever, get out there and find something that you love to do. And then when that time comes, like the 20th of the month, I cry and as I approach the 20th of the month, my heart starts fluttering and I get sweaty and everything else. And till that 20th come, and then I relax or whatever. And I guess as
Mm-hmm.
time go on, I have different feelings and different emotions. But right now, going into that's how I feel. I have those emotions as far as anxiety setting in. So that's another thing that happens since my child has transitioned. I have anxiety, crowd anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I can do a funeral fine, and it can be hundreds and hundreds of people. That's fine. But as far as me going to a place that I don't know anything about, I have like, no, I don't know if I want to go. A lot of people, and I'm a people person, and so now this has brought because it was so many people at the hospital when my son transitioned. It was so many people called. It was so many people that came here. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that brought on that or whatever. And I'm not saying, hey, don't do that. And I really thank everybody for coming and doing what they did and, loving on, our family like they did. And it was so many people at the funeral, after everything was over with, people told me it was so many people. If you know what Cathedral is, and Cathedral was packed from the
Mhm.
downstairs to upstairs. I mean, he just brought out so many people, and I told him, "You had your largest party," because he know I don't like them house parties that he like to have. And I said, "Well, you didn't have your largest party because we had so many people at my house until it blocked off the streets." And you
Mhm.
know
That was his
that's right
last
there.
party. Girl.
I said
That was
you
his
had
last.
you had your big party there. You had your big party. So and he
Yeah.
did, and he brought a lot of people to church. And the thing I end my services with is that if you don't have a savior, if you don't know God for yourself, you need to get to know God for yourself and have a personal relationship. So when it's your time, it's not no question. Or you need to have a higher power that you talk to. Because when it's your time, it can't be any like, hey, I got to do this, I got to do that, and start treating people right, and start forgiving people and forgiving yourself. So that's the message I
Mhm.
want to get across on this thing called grief. Because if you don't do that, you can't get through your grieving process. It's gonna have some stops in the road, some bumps in the road that's gonna stop you. Some
Mhm.
detour signs are gonna detour you from getting through your grieving process. So you just gotta know yourself and know what you need to do in that process.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you bringing me on this show to talk about grief, because people need to know um how grief is and what grief is, to us parents that has sat in this seat. And like I said, if you hadn't done it, and prayerfully you don't have to do it, prayerfully your child, because back in the day, um children was bearing their parents. It wasn't parents bearing their children. Now today it's totally opposite.
Flip.
And so we don't know what to expect. It's so much gun violence around here, and a parent that has lost their child to gun violence, that has to be so much more pain than I say what I'm
Mhm.
going through. But death
Mhm.
itself is painful. So I just, this grief thing is something that we all need to know about, just in case it knocks on our door.
Right. Yeah. That's something. That's one thing. That's how you know God is real. That's something
Hmm.
we can't. We cannot control it. So who else you think got control over it? It ain't humans.
That's right.
So a very valid point. I just want to thank you so much because this, and like you said, I want to put this on the show too. I also want to reach out, and if you, like I say, you are in the business, if there are parents that want to talk about the children they lost to gun violence, and it's so much involvement, so much. I don't mind doing a show about it if the parent is strong enough to want to do it. Y'all, please reach out to me. Reach out to me. If you do it and it hurt and you cry, it does not matter. You want to get on here and talk, reach out to me because what you said a lot might help a lot of people in the long run with listening to you and how you handle it. I'm sure you've helped 10, 20,000 people out with it. You know what I'm saying? People gonna hear that and they gonna be like, oh man, because sometimes you have to step back like me. I'm not gonna lie, I used to be real high strung, like I'm going, oh my family know I'm going off on like these. No, we ain't do now they're looking for me to go off and all that. Now I just go, mm, I might walk
Same here.
off. Yeah, they looking at me like yesterday something happened. I said, and just walked off. Man, they was like, she ain't gonna blow up and shit. Girl, I'm too old to blow up. I ain't trying to get no high blood pressure now. I done learned how to keep out. Nah, don't get mad. Just go on. Just let it roll off your shoulder. Because, at this age and at, this part of my life, I tell people all the time, I only want to be happy.
Hmm.
Because when I go around my mom and dad, they can feel my aura.
Your
And
energy.
yeah, I don't want them to think I'm upset because then my mom will think that she's a burden and all this stuff. And I'm like, nah. So I learned, I say, just be happy. You can go over there, keep your spirit happy. And, me going to my parents' house for the last 6 months every day, almost like it's so different there now. It's so happy. Like it's so I changed something that was just like, when two elderly people get elderly together, they have to look a certain way or it might be, a clutter of papers or it's just something. Now It's so peaceful in there. It ain't even
Mhm.
funny. Like
Mhm.
I was like, and tell my kids, I think I'm gonna start staying the night over there a few nights. Like I'm just gonna go stay with them for a while, cause like it's where I want it. It's where
Mhm.
my, it's where everybody's like, oh, it's so peaceful in here, and it's so it is, and I want it that way. But I know we've been on here a good, let's say, almost an hour and 20 minutes. I don't, and we could keep going on and on and on. But I know we need to, get ready for tonight. But I thank you so much. I'm so glad that your heart is full. I'm so glad that you can still smile and, still go on with your daily process. So many people love you because I'm looking at the comments and people. I'm like, oh God, they just like it's such a great feeling to know that you are able to perform on a daily basis still. You are able to still counsel people. Grief counselor, that's in your making. I see it. You're just gonna be great either way it
Thank
go.
you.
And like I said, you come from a great family. I know your siblings, and just it's so wonderful to know that there still are pure hearted people out here. So with that being said, I'm gonna sign off for tonight. I will keep you in my daily prayers.
Thank
And when I come back to Beaumont, I'm gonna come find you and hug you. I
thank
am.
you. I really
Yes,
appreciate it.
yes.
Thank you.
Well, you
Thank
have
you too. And again, reach out to me if you have to.
I will. And like I say, refer anybody to me that want a podcast. You find some people, let me know. And it don't just have to be about, grief and death, and it can be anything. But we wanna let people. I want people to talk. I want people to get things off their chest, off their heart. Like just I don't know. We need a happy world. The world is
Right.
chaos now. So any happy moment that I can capture or do, I'm there.
That's
So
right.
with that being, I love you. Look, I don't have to
I
know
love
you
you too.
personally. I love you, and I will next time, like I say, when I come to Bowman, I'm definitely gonna find you first. And
Okay,
have a
Doc.
good night.
You too. You have my number and call me anytime.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Praying for you all.
Thank you.